Welcome, everybody, back to the Playbook. I'm Lailend Duncan, joined by,
Brody Carter.
and today we are talking about the AFC East schedule breakdown. Schedules came out this week, and we're starting off with a division that used to kind of had some hype. It kind of started, when we started watching football, at least it was dominated by the Patriots for a long time, and now, as of recent, dominated by the Bills. But last year, the Pats made a comeback. So this year we have a lot of storylines and things to talk about. And I think the first thing we have to do in any schedule breakdown is talk about who got the easiest path. Who do you think got the easiest schedule?
I think the team that got the easiest schedule, I'm looking right now at the New England Patriots schedule, and the way they open up their season is like brutal, but they have Las Vegas in there. You play New York twice, you play Miami twice, you you have Minnesota in there too. You have Jacksonville, which I still think they're going to be good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're going to be, as good as they were last year. But I think looking through all of their schedule, I think they probably have one of the easiest just because, like, the Dolphins, they got San Francisco, Kansas City, Cincinnati, New England, Detroit, Buffalo, Denver, Green Bay. Like, they have some tough schedules or tough teams in there. Same thing with the New York Jets. I mean, they open up the season against Tennessee, but I think out of looking at all four of them, I think New England has the easiest one.
Yeah, see, I don't think I can agree with you on that one. I think I have to go with the Jets. And here's why. You talk about a lot of tough teams the Jets have to play, but the Jets are not good. So to me, that's just like they're gonna lose those games anyway. But I feel like they have a lot of winnable games on their schedule. The Dolphins, the Browns, the Cardinals. They play the Dolphins like twice. They usually do the Vikings. Um, and the Titans open season. So I feel like you could see maybe this team start either as low as like they were last year, 2-3 win team, or maybe up to 7 max. I feel. So I just think that's kind of their strong point. Where I feel like the Patriots, who benefited last year off of having a paper thin schedule, I mean, didn't have to play really anybody but Buffalo. I feel like they got the short end of the stick, where it's like now, like we're gonna find out what Mike Vrabel and Drake May are truly about, because this year they don't get any of those easy passes, any of those like quick. We get to play the Jets. We get to play, like nobodies all year. So I think I'm gonna have to roll with the Jets because I think they just have a bunch of games that are possibly winnable. And for the toughest division, I touched on the Patriots, but who are you feeling has the toughest division on that schedule in the division?
I'm gonna go with Buffalo just because a lot of the teams, like the good teams that they're playing, are away. Like they play Las Vegas away, or not Las Vegas. Sorry, they're not a good team. They're terrible. They play the Rams away. They play, New England away. They play Green Bay away. They play Denver away.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, they got Baltimore at home, but they open up the season at Houston, and I think Houston, that defense is just really unstoppable. But kind of going through it, I feel like the Patriots are also they have a very tough schedule too.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on Buffalo being the hard one because I mean they have a hard schedule every year. They play a lot of good teams all the time, and that's kind of what happens when you're a good team, right? You get tough schedules, but I would agree with you. Playing away games is just, especially when you get a brand new stadium, and how we know how elite Bills Mafia is as a home crowd. Like not getting to have that home impact from them when you're playing some of these tough teams is gonna suck. I'm really interested to see how this Buffalo Patriots rivalry plays out this year. They split the series last year. Both teams won on the road instead of at home. So I'm interested to see how this works this year. Biggest revenge game to you from any team in this division? I think obviously you go real quick. My bad.
Okay, I think obviously it's just the Patriots and Bills. that's one of. I mean, even from last year and previous years too. I think that's one of the best in interdivision rivalries in the NFL, especially since last year the Patriots were really good, the Bills were really good. And like you said, Patriots won in Buffalo and Buffalo won in New England. So I think those are going to be like interdivision. I think that's going to be the best revenge game. But if we're going to talk, I'm gonna go out of division, and for the Patriots, I'm going to say Seattle, just so they can get back to the Super Bowl. Um, but yeah, that's kind of who I.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. I think that, of course, I mean, if you remember that second game later in the season for the Patriots and Bills, the Patriots were looking really good early on in that game and looked like they were going to hold on and sweep the Bills and clinch that division. They did end up clinching the division later in the season, but that win from Buffalo showed a lot. I would agree. The Patriots have a big, to open the season in Seattle on Wednesday. It's going to be a massive game for them. I do think they're going to lose that game, unfortunately. But I do think that's a massive game. The other big revenge game I want to touch on is the Patriots at the Bills later, or Bills at the Broncos later in the season. It's going to be, I believe that's the Christmas game.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
I think it's the nighttime one. No, that's the 3 p.m. one.
That's going to be a big game. Obviously, the heartbreak, Bills fans thinking that was an interception. We won't get into that, but that I think is a massive game for Josh Allen and like trying to get one back and probably some playoff implications. We could be talking about a potential one seed clincher in that game. So just there's a couple things that I think that game really has some high stakes, and so I really think that that's so far the biggest revenge game, at least from my standpoint. What do you think? What team do you think, with their schedule, is going to have the most improvement in the AFC East?
What did Buffalo finish last year? Because I know that they weren't. They obviously didn't win their division,
I think they were
but
12-5 last year. I
were
think,
they okay?
yeah,
Okay,
they lost what they started off the season a little rough, and that's why the
yeah,
Patriots were seized the division.
yeah,
But they finished. I mean,
yeah.
obviously, trying.
Yeah. Holy crap! Oh wait, this is Miami, but Miami was 1, 2, 3, 4. Miami had 6 wins. I could see them this year improving, just like probably by 1 win with Malik Willis. I don't think they're going to be that
I
hot like the Buffalo Bills were, but I
I honestly
think
haven't fallen.
I don't
I don't
know.
see. I think the Dolphins are gonna. I don't want to say. I think that they're. I think they're gonna regress. I think
Yes, I
it's
think they will too.
the
Yeah.
start of the rebuild, which implies that like they let a lot go, and I think that means they're gonna win closer to 4 games. I don't think the Bills are gonna. If they improve, it's not gonna be by much. I mean, like you just it's kind of where you're at. They've been a playoff team for the last uh, 5-6 years. So I
Yeah.
just don't see them, like improving a bunch. I think the Patriots are going to regress a little bit. They had a really good year last year, and they're just not going to do much. I think the Jets are going to
They're
have the
they're
best.
tanking for Arch.
See, but like I don't know, when you have a veteran, if they were tanking, I would have liked them to go with Klubnik this year. The fact that
Oh
they
yeah,
got
yeah, yeah. I'm like, who? Yeah, I was like, I forgot who they took, but
you trade for Gino, that makes it seem, and Gino can win you a game or two.
mhm.
And I think they're gonna steal one, at least split with the Dolphins. I think that the Browns, they should beat the Browns, or that should be at least a tankable, like we just talked about. So I think
Yeah,
I could see them. Like we just talked about, I think I could see them winning like max 7 games, and so then that kind of makes you like roll in because it's Gino. They still have Garrett Wilson there. That defense should be a lot better. I think that they're going to be the most improved because I think the Patriots are not going to improve. I think the Bills are going to stay around where they are, and I think the Dolphins worse. So it kind of makes the Jets the team by default. Although I just don't think like it's not going to matter because they're not going to make playoffs.
yeah,
So it's kind of the AFC East is kind of in this like most teams are like the Bills have been stuck in purgatory for I don't even want to know how long, right? They've been just sitting there. Um, AFC Championship and AFC Divisional for the last since Josh Allen's
Mhm.
ascended to that level, and the Dolphins max have made the first round, and the Jets haven't touched the playoffs since 2 years after I was born. So it's not looking good. But if you want to go ahead and touch on a team with the toughest opening stretch, I think you have a take on that.
I'm just gonna go with Buffalo, just because they have to play. Other than Detroit, they have to play five, or sorry, four uh, um, playoff teams from last year. It's you got Houston. I think Detroit's going to improve this year because they were injured last year. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Never count out the Chargers. If the Chargers are healthy, they're going to be good. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of remind me a lot of the San Francisco 49ers. Like when they're healthy, they're good. When they're bad, or when they're like not fully, they're kind of ass. But I'm gonna go with Houston, the Detroit, Los Angeles, and then the New England, and then they have to go to Los Angeles to play the Rams. So I'm gonna go with Buffalo, because then after that you have the Raiders, and then you have your bye week, and then it's kind of after you play Baltimore, it's kind of a steep drop off until you have to go to Foxborough and play the Patriots again in week 13.
Yeah, so I'm not just disagreeing with you for jiggles. I'm going to disagree with you again, though. I'm going to go with the Patriots just because they have the potential to start the season 0-4, which is like ridiculous because this is a Super Bowl. They've just made the Super Bowl, but they play the Seahawks week 1. Then you travel to, then you go home, but you have to play the Steelers, who are just going to make the game ugly and put you on upset watch. They just do that with everybody. And so I think that's a potential game loser right there. Then you play the Jaguars, who I think got better in the offseason, and they were really good last year. I think they benefited from the schedule too, and we'll get into the AFC South another time. But I don't buy. I just like the fact that they could go 0-4 to start the season. And then you have after the tough stretch, so it goes Seahawks, Steelers, Jags, Bills. That's a rough start. Then you have two should be two easy games between the Raiders and the Jets. They did lose to the Raiders last year. Granted, that was with Geno Smith. And but I think Kirk's better than Geno, and so like you never know. That could be another game you lose. And then you have Chicago, and so I just feel like you have this could be a really rough start. But if the Patriots are legit, and I personally think they are, they should be perfectly fine. But I'm going to go with the Pats here as we get into
I
team deep dive of the team. If you want to chip in here.
Yeah, I will say one thing: the Patriots do benefit from a Week 11 bye,
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of sucks, because after their bye, they go Chargers, Bills, Vikings. That should be a win. But then you go Kansas City, New York, Denver, and then Miami. It's like you kind of got some tough teams in there, but I feel like they're benefiting the most out of having that Week 11 bye, because it's like if you start off the year tough, you can come back and have rest. Unlike the Buffalo Bills, where you have 6 weeks to play, and then your week 7 bye, and then you have to play 9 straight games right after that. So I
Yeah,
think I do think New England could benefit from their schedule the most, just because of that bye.
yeah, you totally have a point there. I could agree with that. I think the bye should help. Again, I just think they should be fine. I think they'll lose to the Seahawks, and we'll get into a full record prediction closer to preseason. But I think they should be fine. I think they'll open the season with a loss, but they should win the next two, and then on from there. So now we'll go into specific team deep dives, and we're going to start with the division champs last year, the New England Patriots. And so we kind of touched in on their tough stretch to start the season and their bye week. But when we're talking about the Patriots, what do you expect from this team this year?
So last season they went, was it 13-4? Were they last season? Or
Yeah.
was it 13? Okay. So I expect them to be in the playoffs, but I don't expect them to go. Oh no, they went 14-3
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah, they went 14-3. So I expect them to, dip. I think they're probably going to go maybe. I haven't, looked straight into their schedule, but it's like you said, you have Seattle, and they could potentially open up the season 0-4, and
Hmm.
you just regressed one win right there from last
Hmm.
season. I think they might go, and like we said, we're going to do our season predictions closer to preseason, but I think they could go anywhere from 10-7 to 12 and
Hmm.
5. I think 12-5 is their ceiling, and 10-7 not really their floor. I think they could lose some more games, just
Hmm.
because you never know. It's just because the New York Jets are terrible. You still got to remember they're professional football players. You can lose
Hmm.
any game, but I'm not saying 10-7 is their floor, but I think 12-5 is their ceiling.
Yeah, I don't think they're going 14-3 again. I don't think they're going back to the Super Bowl again. I do think that they're going to make the playoffs. And we'll get in again to our record flash playoff. I think we might as well just do a stream for that.
Yeah, we probably will. Yeah.
Longer video, but I would agree with you on that. I'm gonna roll. I would agree. I think that they're gonna go somewhere around there. I think it's just kind of a rough spot for the Patriots this year. I think they're like we. I think we both agree that their toughest stretch will be the opening stretch, but then after I think around the bye, that 4 weeks from like week 7 to week 8 to week 12 is probably their easiest kind of stretch. Um, but other than that, like I just don't think that I don't know really what to expect from this team. They kind of stay the same for the most part. Um, yeah, I think in terms of games, I just think that that's kind of where we're at with the Patriots. Overall, just a broad record prediction for them for me is going to be 11-6. I think that's where I have them at right now. If you want to go ahead and give yours.
Yeah, I have them 11-6. I could see them going 10-7, just because I right now my toss up game for me at least is Detroit. You never know how they're gonna do, but I think it's either like they could win or lose to Detroit, and they could win or lose to Pittsburgh. But other than that, I have them going either 10-7 or 11-6.
Yep. All right. Now we get into the usual. In a normal year, we'd be saying the division champs, but last year they were upset. We're talking about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, the team of doom and despair, sorrow and regret. I mean, Bills had a tough time over the history of the league, but they do have Josh Allen, and this is a great team. What are you thinking is their hardest stretch of the season?
I'm gonna say from week 1 to week 8.
Yeah,
You know,
it
they've
sounds.
only their only like break other than their bye week is the Vegas Raiders, and I mean, you never know because they play the Rams Monday, October 9th, and then they got to go and play Sunday, the 6th. And you got to think about it. They're going from New York all the way to Vegas.
Mhm.
So it's like kind of, you're not really going to get that much rest. So they could, I mean, maybe potential trap game, maybe. But then it's like after week 8, after you play Baltimore, you have Minnesota, New York, Miami, Kansas City. And then you're kind of tough again, where it's Kansas City, New England, Green Bay, Chicago, and Denver. But then you end the year out with Miami and New York. But I'm going to say for Buffalo, I'm just going to say week 1 to week 8.
Yeah, I agree. I think the top of the division for the AFC East gets the rough side of just starting the season rough. It's just not going to be fun in terms of like what you're going through. So I'm going to agree with you there. Um, yeah. What do you think is the Bills' most important game? I'm gonna go. Me personally, I think with just looking at their schedule, and I'm just gonna say this. I feel like this is just a cop out pick, but I'm gonna go with KC on Thanksgiving. I think. I mean, first of all, for them to beat KC for like, would this be the fourth straight in the regular season? Would be ridiculous.
I think so, yeah.
Obviously, if they play in the playoffs, then that takes the cake in terms of most important game. But I just think the fact that Josh Allen could sweep Patrick Mahomes for 4 straight years now would be wild. So I'm gonna go with that. But if you have a take on your biggest Buffalo game this year,
I kind of have three. I'm gonna say Kansas City because that could be if Kansas City like if they pop off again with Eric Bieniemy, that could be for the one seed in the AFC. I'm gonna say when they're at New England in Week 13 because that could be for their whole division. And then, but I think the game that is really important for them is going to be their revenge game against Denver. And again, they have to go into Denver, but that could be if Denver is tied with the same record as like if they end with the same record at the end of the season, if they're both 11-6 or 12-5, that could be for the one seed. So I'm gonna go with Denver just because it's later in the year,
Mm.
and if Denver and Miami or in Buffalo are finishing on that same track, I think that could be for the one seed.
Yeah, I have to agree with you as well. I think that that game's going to be big. Like just in terms of like what they're going to be at in that time of the season. I think playing on Christmas is like interesting. I don't like when my team plays on Christmas because I think they could lose and then my holidays ruined. So that's my personal take. I don't know how everybody else feels like that. I know last year we lost on Thanksgiving and Christmas, so like my holiday season was just in shambles. Losing to the Cowboys always sucks, and it was on Thanksgiving, and then turning around on Christmas Day. I mean, Mahomes isn't playing, so I didn't expect us to win, but it
Yeah,
was close enough to where I kind of had some hope, and we lost. And so, like, I don't know, that's just always rough. But I think that the Bills that's going to be their biggest game. And overall, in terms of a record prediction, I'm going to go with kind of their norm, and I'm just going to say we go 12-5 and around there. Again, I mean, barring a Josh Allen injury, I don't see a world where they miss the playoffs or anything of that nature. So I'm gonna go with 12-5 for the Buffalo Bills. And if you want to go ahead and talk about what you think the Bills are going to do this year.
yeah. I think they're gonna go either 11-6 or 12-5.
Yeah, it's kind of it's
It's
kind
just
of
yeah, it's just
kind
gonna
of
be
where
their
they're at.
same.
Yeah. All right, now we're talking about the Dolphins. So first of all, in terms of like hardest stretch, there is no hard. They have their whole schedule's hard. So
Yes.
they're just when you're a bad team, the week 1 through week 18, even the bye week's gonna be tough. Okay, so I think that, but in terms of like we always know it's probably been the same thing with the Dolphins for a long time. Can they win on the road in December uh, and cold weather games? Usually that's not the case. That's usually been their big Achilles heel. So overall, I think that's kind of the big question for them. The biggest question, obviously, is what does Malik Willis look like? Is he going to be healthy enough to stay for all 18 games? What is he playing like? What is how efficient is he as a passer? I think that their defense should be better because Jeff Haley's there. He's a good defense coordinator. They got a lot of defensive talent. So, but overall, I think that it's kind of the same thing for them. I think the Dolphins potentially could win. I know the Bills always struggle walking into Hard Rock Stadium, so I think they could win, potentially upset Buffalo. Then I think they could potentially upset New England in the same way, just because uh, it's hard to those teams suck at walking into Hard Rock Stadium and beating the
Mhm.
Dolphins, no matter how bad they are. We all remember the Miami Miracle. Like it's just kind of you never know what is going to happen. So I think those are some potential. I talked about it earlier, though. I think I have them going 4-13, back at the top of the draft order and bottom of the standings.
Yeah. I have them going 4-13 as well. I think at the end of the season, when they play Buffalo and New England, I think it's kind of going to be like a toss up, like whichever team has the division. And like if Buffalo is clearly in the lead, Buffalo might sit their starters and Miami can just dog walk on them. Or same thing with New England. If New England somehow comes out and wins the division, then I think obviously New England would sit their starters. But yeah, I think they're going to go 14 and or not 14-3, 4-13, and then kind of with the December games, it's It's going to be tough for them because they go to Denver and it's going to be cold. They go to Green Bay and that's going to be cold. And then they go to New England and that's also going to be cold. And, you know, at home against Chicago, at home against the Chargers, and at home against the Buffalo Bills, I think not winnable games, but I think they'll do better and thrive better there because obviously it's going to be warmer. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have them going 4-13. I think them or New England or New York is going to be in the top of the draft organization.
Yeah, I agree. I think that those, I just think that's kind of where we're at. That's a perfect segue to New York Jets, who a lot of changes. I mean, Aaron Glenn's still there, being the head coach, but no more Brady Cook and Justin Fields and the carousel of terrible quarterback play. Now that doesn't mean that Geno's not going to play terrible, because that's very possible. But I think that the Jets are kind of in this weird spot. I think Geno's good enough to win them some games. I think he's good enough to upset the Bills and the Patriots once. I just think that's kind of where we're at. I think last year was a rare dud from Geno. It just kind of seemed like he regressed a little bit. But I think overall he's a pretty average quarterback, and I think he can. He's good enough just to steal some, and you're pairing him with a pretty good set of weapons. So I think they have a chance to win some games here, maybe some games that we don't expect them to win. But I think they're going to be just as bad as usual. And I have them overall. I think they're going to be max 7-10. I think that's their ceiling, and I think they could just be just as bad as they were last year, 3-14 or 2-15. Anything around there. It's the Jets, so you never know.
Yeah,
I like the Arvo position. I forgot to touch on that, but Arvo Reed's here.
Oh yeah,
the defense should be a lot better. Trade for Minka Fitzpatrick, but honestly, their defense could shut a team down to 10 points. They still.
Yeah, I do like what New York did in the draft. I think if you you could really do what the Raiders are doing, send Geno out there, see how he does for the season, and then if he's not doing that well, put Cade Klubnik out there, see how he does, and if he kind of does what Quinn Ewers did last year for the Miami Dolphins, where he's showing flashes, you could keep him out there and just have him continue to develop. But I have them winning either. This might be a shocker, but I have them either going 7-10 or even 8-9, kind of getting up there to 500, because I love what they did with Sadiq, Omar Cooper Jr. You're getting guys, and you already have Garrett Wilson too. You even also have Mason Taylor. You have Breece Hall. That offense, if they get a decent quarterback, they could be, I'm not saying top tier, but I'm not saying low tier. I'm right in the middle.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But yeah,
I third.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think they're good enough to like you said, it's a pretty decent team all around. And so I could see them being a shock playoff team potentially. I just think that they've added, like you said, they've added well, and so it kind of makes you think what if, right? It's really all going to depend on Geno. But I think around the clock, I think that this is going to be, their best, one of their best years, at least the last couple of years. Which now we can talk about AFC East playoff chances, and who we think is going to win the division. If you want to start,
I think it's going to be Buffalo, just because. Josh Allen, he's a seasoned veteran, and last year New England, they've benefited from that very easy schedule. Like I said, we both don't think that they're going to go 14-3 this year. We both think that they're going to drop, and it's not saying a huge drop off, but 4 to 5 wins, those could end up being losses. So I'm going to go with Buffalo.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you. I think the Bills bounce back and win the division. And I think this kind of I thought last year going into the playoffs, I had the Bills winning the AFC just because they had the best quarterback. Like greatness at that position is not easily found, and so I kind of gave them the edge. They obviously lost to Denver, who then lost to Drake May. So, but I think that if that game is in Buffalo, um, different outcome. I think like I just kind of think that's what it is. And so they didn't get a home playoff game last year. I think they get one this year, at least one, and they do clinch the division. But I think both the Patriots and the Bills are going to make the playoffs this year. I think the only team I could see the Patriots falling out of the playoffs just as easily as them making it. It's just kind of how their schedule is. But I'm going to go with the Patriots. The Bills win the division, but both of them to make the playoffs. And we talked about the Jets as a potential wild card. I could see them substituting the Patriots as a second AFC East team to make the playoffs. I don't see all three of them making it. I think that's very unlikely. Possible, but unlikely. So I'm going to go with the Patriots and Bills to make the playoffs, Bills to win the division, and the Jets to be my dark horse.
Yes. I also agree with that. I do think it's going to be Buffalo, obviously, just because of what we've seen. I think it's going to go Buffalo, New England, New York, and then Miami.
Yeah, I agree. I think that just with how the division looks, that's going to be how it is. I think it's just the easiest one. So I'm going to agree with you on that. If there's any other things you want to touch on?
No, that's it.
Yeah, that is the AFC East, man. It's kind of one of those divisions that's been, like we touched on to start the video, like just the same for like the last however long, like 20 plus years. It was dominated by the Patriots. You had teams like the Dolphins and the Jets and the Bills a couple of years make some runs, but overall it's been the same. And so you just kind of got to roll with that. And I think it's going to be similar as it was last year, but the Bills get it done. So that is our AFC West, or AFC East, excuse me. We'll get into AFC West another time. The AFC East schedule prediction. I'm Lailend Duncan.
I'm Brody Carter.
And this is the Playbook signing off. See you with our next schedule release video.
Bye, everybody.